Hello and welcome to the newest episode of In the Practice Room. This week we have a couple friends here. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm Rose Bentley. I'm a music education major here at K-State, and this is my 4th year, and I'll be student teaching next spring, which is really exciting, and then I'll be out of here.
Yeah, and I'm Kara Whitaker. This is my 4th year as well. We're both seniors in music education, and I played mellophone for the Blue Knights. I'm student staff for marching band right now. I'm just very involved in the music program.
As you can tell, these two here, they're very close friends. This is actually Rose and this is Kara. They like to have a little bit of fun. They're also horn players like I am. I've known them since freshman year, and they're pretty interesting. So, kind of starting off, you guys, seniors, you guys are getting ready to student teach, and most importantly, you have your recital upcoming this Sunday. How is it prepping for your senior recital?
Well, so our senior recital, I feel like, has come up really quick for October. I do have to say that, it is kind of busy in the season of October, but I do like the fact that, we're kind of ripping it off like a Band-Aid. We're getting it over with.
Getting it done with.
And then, we don't have to worry about it at the end of the year. With all the finals and everything, I feel like it's kind of a great time for us.
Yeah, and it is kind of crazy thinking that this is actually our senior recital, and that, a few years ago, I was like, oh, I won't have to worry about that in forever, and now it's finally here. Also, 3 p.m. Crimser, so if you want to be there.
Or B Square. Yeah, like SpongeBob.
So going on about just being seniors and stuff, you're getting ready to student teach. What are you doing right now to prepare yourself for once you're getting out there?
So right now we're both doing our practicums, and so we're just going into a class for a few hours each week, and we prepare lesson plans for that. We get evaluations from our teachers. We can kind of do our own self-reflections on it. And so right now I'm doing 6th graders with...
So I imagine lots of fun.
Yeah, with choral music and stuff, so it's definitely different, but it gives you a new perspective on what it's actually going to be like.
Yeah, and I'm doing marching band with Jay. So Jay Copal was a grad student here, and now he's teaching at Rock Creek.
Mm-hmm.
And it's his first year there, which I'm kind of learning what it's like as he's not a first-year teacher, but, this is his first year at that school.
Yeah.
And so building up a program like that, and I get to see all the struggles that he's dealing with, and I feel a lot of gratitude towards him, which is, all that he has to do on his first year, especially with, a marching band program on top of everything else that he's doing. I didn't realize, how extensive marching band was, and, making sure that, you have the proper method of teaching drill. I didn't know that there was, a specific sequence you had to go by. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. And then, I think anybody who can teach multiple music classes like that, because he does elementary as well. He does elementary, he does marching band, he does middle school, he does A to B, everything in between. And so I'm very grateful that I get to see him go through that experience.
That's really cool. With working with middle schoolers, or even you with high schoolers or elementary, any crazy stories from any of the students?
Nothing super crazy yet. We're just at the point where, so my 6th graders are actually in the elementary school still, so they think they're all big and bad there.
Oh, yeah.
So there's just a lot of okay, let's not talk while I'm talking. But
a lot of classroom management then?
Yes, lots of classroom management. I had a guy one time, I was like, okay, as a warm-up, we're just going to kind of stretch it out because it's in the morning, they're tired. And he goes, are we making an exercise video? And I was like, no.
Some P90X, right?
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think it was actually kind of similar for me in high school. It's a lot of classroom management. That's something that I wish we got taught more on, is classroom management. I wish we had a full class just on classroom management. Because, oh my gosh, even high schoolers, you're constantly hey, shut up. Or, you can't really tell them to shut up. But in your mind,
it's college students, too.
Yeah, even in college. But, you just want to tell them to be quiet. But you can't really, like,
You gotta find
they've
a
got
way to
musical
engage
instruments in their hands. And, like, you can't just, like, get them mad all the time. Well, she told me to do this, and, like, she's so bossy or whatever.
Yeah, there's a fine line between, like, wanting them to enjoy music and keeping a classroom kind of working. So we've talked a lot about kind of, like, the upcoming future and stuff. Let's take a look back. Let's talk about going through your undergrad. I've been in a lot of classes with you guys, but what was one of your favorite classes you've taken throughout your undergrad?
Oh my God.
Fundamentals of education.
Yeah.
Sorry. That was a class that Kara and I had a lot of fun messing around in.
Yes, we were probably part of the classroom management problem. But yeah, it was really fun, and you did learn a bunch of like the fundamentals and basics about teaching.
If we're gonna be honest about what our favorite class was, I guess.
Theory 2, excuse me, Dr. Roebuck. If anyone knows that story, you can ask us later. It's really funny.
I had a great Theory 2 experience, so.
Okay. But your actual
Tell us about
favorite
it.
class? Oh, sorry.
Oh, so I decided to not fit in with my horn friends and choose to be with Ben Wooster for my Theory 2 class. And let me just say, that was God answering all of my prayers. I didn't realize who the other professor was. I just didn't want to take theory with a bunch of people that I knew already. Yeah,
that's fair.
pretty much. And anyway, so they ended up with Dr. Roebuck, and we would always meet in the courtyard, and they would be, like, pulling their hair out. Literally, like, pulling their hair out, just getting so frustrated. And then, like, I remember a story of, like, when you guys came out, and you were talking about how you guys drilled her so hard that she was getting hives.
Okay.
And, like, no, like, not in a bad way. It was more along the lines of, like, them kind of being like, hey, we're not understanding what you're doing.
Yeah.
And she wasn't aware of that, and, like, she kept trying to defend herself, and then she was just getting hives trying to defend herself.
Overall stressful situation for
Very
both
stressful.
students and
Not
teachers.
good.
Not ideal, but
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your Theory 2 class again.
So, I never really understood theory. Like, my music background growing up, like, I didn't have a lot of experience. You guys both know, like, the school that I came from, like, wasn't very high quality when it came to the music program. And that's why I struggled a lot developing, like, even in my horn skills. But I had Dr. Luttrell for Theory 1, and I absolutely love Dr. Luttrell. Like, he is one of the greatest human beings ever. But, like, for me, I just had a hard time with his teaching methods and understanding theory. So going into Theory 2, I was still kind of on edge
Like
about,
at a deficit a little bit of, like, trying to understand it.
Yeah, so I had a hard time with just grasping theory. And so then I had Ben Wooster, and oh my gosh, if you talk about a teacher who actually cares about, like, you as a person and you as a musician and putting it together, like, he is the man. I remember learning counterpoint, and I'm the kind of person who does homework last minute, but I remember going down and, like, I lived in Marlatte at the same time, and I would go to the basement and I would just do counterpoint all the time, and I would spend hours on it, and I just thought it was fun to do counterpoint, and the fact that, like, he made counterpoint fun was
That's a hard
insane
thing to do.
to me. And so every time I would go into class, I would just look forward to whatever lesson he had to bring, and it was always just an enjoyable experience.
That's cool.
That's really cool. How about a class that you really struggled with, and, like, how did you get through that? What are some resources you pulled on to help you get through it?
I want to hear yours first, and then I'll go with mine.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not meaning to
You're good,
touch
you're good.
both of your legs.
Oh, you can touch my legs anytime, man.
I've actually struggled with, like, quite a few classes here because, like, Rose, my, like, theory and stuff, my background wasn't strong in that, so all the theory classes were a bit challenging for me, but I think the one that I really struggled with was instrumentation and arranging.
I knew it.
And that was mainly due to the fact that, like, so that's the one, you know, you, like, notate things yourself, and I wanted it to just be so good with my own little handwriting, and so it took me forever to do, And I didn't get, like, the results that I wanted in a lot of those assignments because I would spend so much time on them, and then I'd get it back and be like, well, all right then, I guess that's what we're getting. I tried my best, so...
Ironically, I didn't have as much of a hard time with that one, and I always was, like, trying to figure out why I found it easier than most people, but I just want to do a shout-out real quick to my pal, Dr. Weston, and apologize for that one time in class. I gotta do this because I've always felt bad about it, and I'm sure you did too, but... Let's just say that anytime that Kara and I are next to each other in a class, it is not good. We went to a concert maybe like a week. We went to a concert a week before, and it was like a saxophone.
It's a saxophone player.
Yeah. There was a group of saxophones playing, and she points something out to me about a player's hands. And so I look at them and I kind of just like start laughing in the middle of their performance. And I kid you not, Kara and I could not stop laughing for 7 minutes during this piece.
Yeah.
And like people are like looking back at us as we're like trying to hold it in and be so quiet. We're like, and like trying so hard not to let anybody hear us because it's like an actual performance. And like, you know, performance etiquette, you gotta be professional. We know that.
Right.
But like, it was just so hard.
And then like we would stop, but then I would start up again.
Yeah. Like we
both lost it.
We'd think we were calm and all good, and it was just like, oh, and then we're like going at it again. We're like, okay. And so there was one time, like a week later, in instrumentation and arranging, and I wish I still had this picture, but like we had our phones in our laps as like we're looking at this piece. It had something to do with lips or something. I think so.
I
don't know. It's something that like he's a really huge fan of this song, so I think he like handed us the lyrics maybe 10 times.
Yes.
I don't know, and I was taking pictures of part of the lyrics and, like, turning them into memes and, like, sending them to Kara. And, like, I think one of them was,
Also, I want to point out, maybe this is why I struggled in the class, because we're making memes.
I just like to point out that I didn't struggle that hard. A lot of people struggle with this class. So I'm not taking credit for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're sending these pictures back and forth of the lyrics and making jokes out of them. And then all of a sudden, like... I find this GIF, and it's of a Japanese guy who's, like, crying, laughing. And Kara and I are sitting in the front row of class, and I hear Dr. Weston say, yeah, we need to try not to be distractions so that we don't, like, take away attention from other people, right? Like, he's talking about the music, but totally making a reference towards us.
Totally adding
and, like,
us.
Totally called for. Like, totally called
Yes.
for. I felt so bad. But, like, we could physically not laugh.
So hard.
We were literally crying. Like, I was wiping tears in the middle of class. I just, like, 10 out of 10, do not suggest. But... probably one of our best moments, but I do apologize for that.
And you kind of see throughout your music undergrad and stuff like that. We touched on our last podcast, but you get such like great friends, like lifelong friends, and you can see this example of these two right here. Who didn't know each other at all before for college.
I'm the favorite daughter in the family, just saying.
She really is.
All right, I got one final question for you.
Wait, can we tell another funny story? Tell the favorite daughter story.
Oh.
Well, we could do it some other time. We're gonna go ahead and start wrapping up. One final question. So take it back, freshman year, first day you're walking on this campus, knowing like how you felt and where you were. What's advice that you would give to freshman you right now?
Freshman me. Listen up here, freshman me. Things are gonna get a little stressful. You're gonna feel like you're just like drowning, not necessarily in homework.
That's
but
nothing. You just wait till senior year.
Right, yeah. And so just whenever you're like, I can't do this, just remember that you can. Take a deep breath. Enjoy the little things. I've really had to learn to do that throughout the year, just to go outside, enjoy like the sunshine for like 10 minutes, and then come back in, and it really helps. And yeah, you're gonna get overwhelmed. it's going to happen, but you can do it. Lots of you have done it before us, and just like keep in mind that you're going to impact the lives of children. So it's pretty cool.
Hopefully. If you do it right.
Rose?
I think both of you can agree that something that I struggled with, like even up till my junior year, was confidence. I think that was what hindered me in a lot of things that I did, especially like whether it be horn playing, auditions, classwork, all sorts of stuff. Like I just didn't have confidence in myself, and I would always like look to other people to reassure that, you know, I was either doing something correctly or that they thought that I was doing good, which it doesn't matter what other people think if you're doing good or not. Like what matters is your success and how much you progress. Like nobody else has to know where you started. Only you know where you started and where you're going to be headed towards, if that makes sense. And so if I could give myself advice, is to not care about what other people think and to just go in with confidence.
No.
Really well put. Well, thank you guys so much for being here to let me interview you. It's tons of fun. Make sure that you check out, keep up to date with the weekly series here on YouTube. It's going to come out every Wednesday. And don't forget to continue to check out our podcast, Not Your Forte Podcast, which comes out every other Friday at 9 a.m. Finally, just don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, everything, and just leave comments. I greatly have appreciated all the support in which Dr. Payne and I have been getting, and it's just really fun to continue to do this. So
We love you, Dr. Payne.
Yeah, thank you, Eric, for the interview.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do we need to hug you too
oh
since
no,
we're
we're
females?
good. We're good.
Oh, wait.